and it's shortened. Usually you'll hear the word P25.
Okay. I guess my other concern is that one of the statements in here under the importance of network management tools. As the network expands and becomes more complex, a comprehensive network management suite is imperative to ensure that the system continues to work efficiently for the owner rather than requiring the owner to work for the system. How is this administered in other places? Who does it and how is it done?
It depends on the county, the city, depending on what you want to do. A person normally, either it be in the ECC or within the organization, if there's a system manager, that person is the person that kind of looks after the health of the system. Our system does a lot of reporting to let you know that, how many push-to-talks, how many things are going on. If somebody steals a radio, I can inhibit it so they can't talk on the system. Those types of things. The system is pretty smart.
The other issue, I guess, is I was looking at all of the network and fault management, licenses.
Yes, sir.
We have, you're saying 4 frequencies.
Correct. That's
And
what
we
we're going
have
to apply for.
3 radio controller manager license.
Okay.
4 frequencies, 3 managers. Shouldn't it be 4 frequencies, 4 managers?
No, the licenses are for the network management, and there are 3 of those located in different locations within the county. They're for the network management tool that, as I was just explaining. We have at each site, we have 6 sites. At each site, we have 4 channels or 4 base stations.
So we'll have 4 base stations?
At each site. You'll only utilize 3 to talk on, and those 3, when in TDMA, become 6 talk pass, as we call them. Because one of the channels is a control channel. I don't want to get in the weeds here
Okay,
too
that's
much,
fine.
guys.
I guess my other question was, and I'm back to the towers, we have a Doswell site, which is Hanover,
Yes, sir.
and a Beaver Dam site, which is
Also Hanover. Yes, sir.
So we don't have a tower right there at the state fair that works?
Well, when we, the original design, when we had 8 sites, when we came in 15 months ago, maybe more, we had Dawn, and then we had the one at the Virginia Power site there. In an effort to try to get the monies more in line with what you had been telling us throughout the process, we were looking for ways to do that. And one of the ways is to eliminate the cost of a building, to eliminate the generator, to eliminate the UPS, those types of things. So Hanover has lots of space in their building, and they have a tremendous amount of space on these towers. So we figured, well, gee, let's see if they'll entertain coming on there. And it's not that much difference between the 2 sets of towers that were replaced.
Have we talked to them about doing that?
Yes, sir. I believe that
So
Charlie
we have an
had.
agreement?
We don't have a written agreement. We met with their staff, and they felt it was a doable. If we wanted to do it, they would take it forward to their board. We don't have a commitment because we haven't committed to what we were going to do. But we met with Kurt Schaefer, and he indicated that he felt that it was a doable thing for them because they already have everything there, so we wouldn't really be harming them any, and they would look at it as basically like a tower lease.
Okay.
Something related.
Certainly.
Turn your mic on.
I was looking through about the license limitation. Does that come into play with what Mr. Seeley was talking about? I mean, I noticed, like right now, Hanover and Stafford, we are all involved in Motorola, but does the license limitation limit us as far as the software is concerned, or maybe finding some ways to work together to generate some savings, or is there anything we can do about that?
I'm not sure I'm following the question in order
We
to
got to
answer
sign a
the
EULA,
problem.
right?
Say-
We've got to sign a EULA, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you have part of the contract that's been negotiated and worked out. There is a software license agreement.
right.
I think Exhibit A, possibly.
Or I'm sorry, EULA would be end user license agreement.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I did it to you too.
See, you did it to me, didn't you?
Okay.
Okay. But I was just thinking in terms of, there was a time when you could buy a TV, you could plug it in, you could put an antenna on the house, and boom, you could watch.
Right.
No more. You can't
Agreed.
do that anymore.
I know.
I mean, if we're going to spend $6.5 million, and we got people in close proximity to us that's using the same system, I'm just wondering, are there ways that when new things come about, are there ways that we could be able to address those changes maybe together? Because we just want to be able to hear. We just
No,
want to
I
be able to
understood.
communicate.
I think that's a good point. And I think that because of your neighbors, and even including Spotsylvania, with the way that that P25 has come about, it's kind of opened up the arena. So you're able to have that interoperability. Not too long ago, everybody was an island almost. I had my little system, you had your system, your UHF, your VHF, your this, your that. Our trunking system at one time was proprietary. Harris, Ericsson, whatever they were at the time, they were also proprietary. We couldn't talk on their system and vice versa. But now today we can if they have P25 system, and they can talk on our system. So it opens up the interoperability system. It's good. It's really good for everyone. And this was not us. We didn't come up with these rules. This was APCO. This was the user community coming up with these rules.
I guess, are you done?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. In Exhibit E, one of the things, I guess, that Mr. Emerson, I guess this is a question for you that doesn't make any sense to me. The last sentence in Section 2.1, in interpreting this agreement and resolving any ambiguities, these service terms and conditions take precedence over any cover page, and the cover page takes precedence over any attachments unless the cover page or attachment states otherwise. Now, I'm not a contracts guy, but that sort of sounds like to me that if you can't find it, it's not covered.
Better be in the cover page.
Well-
No, it shouldn't be in the cover page because it's not covered.
I mean, this is a provision that basically, since you have multiple documents and you actually have like a master agreement, and then you've got sort of sub-agreements, maintenance agreements, service, this is essentially a service agreement. So you've got to have something that essentially make sure that they're all incorporated legally into one document, so that if you have a disagreement under the terms of one, that if something in the other document relates to it, you can bring that in to help with the document that you're talking about. By the same token, you sometimes will have conflicts, especially in contracts that are sort of form contracts that are negotiated individually and all. And so somehow you have to have an order of precedence. And virtually all multiple document contracts and complex agreements will have a provision such as this one that essentially states an order of precedence in the event of an ambiguity or a conflict between the documents in terms of how you're going to interpret them. And that's really what this is saying. Now, you could...
I just like to see something, and let me go on from there, because that's one thing that, because this is one document as far as I can tell, unless there are things that we don't have here. But the next thing that was sort of bothersome to me. Motorola may provide the scope of service related to that equipment. And it says semicolon, remove that equipment from the agreement or increase the price to the service, to service that equipment. So it looks like you guys can move stuff around. We're buying a set of equipment. If it's discontinued, you pull it and you change it with something else, and then we get a new agreement with a new price. That I'm not sure we're really ready to see yet. That's what this means to me. And Mr. Emmer, it's at the bottom of that same
I'm
page.
not the attorney.
I understand, neither am I, and that's why when I read some of this, I was like, I'm at on paragraph 4.6, bottom of page 22 in section E.
Section E, the bottom of the page.
We actually talked with their attorney about this. They won't warrant equipment that's not their own equipment. In case you were to put some other equipment into the system, for example, and if that can't be serviced for any reason, then they can essentially modify what they have to do with that equipment since it's not their equipment, or they can take that equipment out, or if it can be fixed, but, again, it's not their equipment, and it costs them more to do that than what they've said they do, than what they've agreed to do, then they could increase the price to you for servicing that non-Motorola equipment that they didn't put in there.
I don't
Now,
see where it says non-Motorola. All I see
It
is
says-
Motorola.
If equipment that was not provided by Motorola,
I see, if the
Cannot-
equipment cannot, in Motorola's reasonable opinion.
if equipment
be
that was
properly-
not provided by Motorola modifies the entire paragraph, it's non-Motorola equipment.
4.6, standalone. If equipment, in Motorola's reasonable opinion,
If equipment that was not provided by Motorola cannot, in Motorola's reasonable opinion, be properly or
Where's that?
economically
tell
serviced
me
for
where
any
you're reading
reason.
that from.
The last line of page 26.
Last line, I'm on page 22.
Well, section 4.6.
No, it's
What you-
paragraph 4.6, section 4, page 22, bottom of the page.
I'm sorry, say again, what page?
Page 22, section E, 4.6.
I don't have a 4.6 on this page 22.
Right here.
No, this is page 22. It's Exhibit B.
I'm exhibit E.
Exhibit E is here, page 26.
We don't seem to even have the same thing.
What do you mean you don't have the same thing? Yours is different? Apologize, Mr. Garner. There appears to be, Mr. Wowell, Mr. Seeley does that. Mr. Underwood, feel free to make your comment.
Mr. Chairman, I just looking at the cost here, and I guess our debt service, if we're calculated correctly,
That looks like
on the
it's the same
6.5
thing
million
somewhere else in the
is
book, only it's got
a little less than
different pagination.
500,000 a year for the next
I don't know if it's
17
exactly
years.
the same or not, the way it
Then we have a $200,000
is.
maintenance maintenance fee forever on the system. So we're paying $700,000 a year
Which one of these is correct?
for the
Slightly
next
different.
17 years, and $200,000 thereafter. Correct. I don't think this is a $6.5 million program system. This is far beyond that number.
Two E's.
I don't know, I can't think they can make us stay on the list.
Let me get his, make sure you got all of his questions, or all the questions to Mr. Gardner, so if you're not ready, and we thought we were going to be ready.
That's the final one.
We found two different section Es with two different wording.
Although it's got
The one in the back is different than the one in the front. And the one in the back, well, I don't know what it
That's not the
supersedes.
one that's not the final one.
Mr. Chairman?
Wait a second, I need to make sure, Ben, you just said that's not the final one?
Well, the copy I have of the CSA with Exhibit E in it, that was the final copy that came from Motorola's attorneys after we fiddled with it a while, has language
That you read?
in it. Well, yeah, but it has language in it in Exhibit E that's in the front part of this giant binder, and it's different from the one that Mr. Seeley's referring to that's at the end of the binder. So I don't know what else might be different, but I found a sentence in the one that's not in the others.
It's a pretty big
So
book
I
to
don't
go
know-
through
I don't
and
know
make
what
sure
it-
every sentence matches up, but I wanted to make sure we had what he had.
And we don't.
Well, the first part of it is, I think, but I don't know what this latter part is. It looks like it might be a prior draft.
Charlie, do you have the CDs I gave you? The CDs? Okay. Because that's got, that has the contract and everything else in it.
Mr. Chairman? In lieu of some of the conversations, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until the April meeting,
What is that, April 9th?
April 9th.
Second.
Discussion?
The only question I have is, I was under the impression that we were under some kind of
We're still in,
restriction.
we're still in the timeline.
I mean, if we, okay.
We're not totally in the timeline. We need to be able to get the frequencies, and so that may push us into next year, being able to get the frequencies. Region 42 doesn't meet, but they got a meeting in May, is that correct?
May 15th and
May
October.
15th.
That's when the frequencies are assigned?
No, that's when we want to get in front of them. It may be the fall when they assign them. Could you speak
We
to
can
that?
still, we're only talking 2 more weeks. I just want to make sure we all have the same
Talking 2
thing.
weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We have a work session Thursday night.
Any other differences
So
offhand?
can we not get some of these questions addressed? You know, to me, it's.
Can we just
your
get a new
company.
copy Thursday night and vote on it on the 9th?
Well, I think that the question, as long as they come back and clear up, well, my understanding, Mr. Seeley, is the fact that they clear up the difference between what's in that section in front of the book and the back of the book, then that should bring us back together. I think Motorola is the one that,
I'd still like to go to the 9th April. I'm with Mr. Underwood. I think we can still make it.
All right, we want to do it, I mean, we wanted to do it tonight. I think that's kind of what we planned on. There appear to be some issues, so we've got a motion to table it till April 9th. We'll get all the questions back. Do we feel confident that April 9th will be a time when we can actually make a vote on it?
I think what's right.
If we get all the questions answered, okay. All right, my apologies. I thought we were done. Okay, motion to table was made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley. A little discussion, more discussion?
I just, to Mr. Cully,
Mr. Collins?
if it's voted on May the 9th,
April
April the
9th.
9th, will you still have time to go and get everything set up for the May meeting?
Motorola was going to help us go to the Region 42.
Will you still
So-
do that?
It's part of the contract, but I'm not making any guarantees at this point. You know, we have two things we've been chasing for quite a while, and it continues to move out. I can't change the date, it's May 15th. I don't know if my folks can get everything done, along with your folks and the folks that are helping us do this, by the 15th. And I can't just give it to them on the 15th, they meet on the 15th. So it'd be very similar to you guys not having an opportunity to review, and they need to look at what we're asking them for. The other thing, of course, is the mandate from the FCC. So, I mean, you guys are well aware of where we are on that. We're trying to get under contract so we can, rewrite, write back to the FCC and say, we have a timeline, we have a project, we're good to go, get us off the snide, so.
All right, we're gonna vote on the 9th if we can. We'll get all the questions back. All right, did we carry the motion? All in favor of the motion to table, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. All right, we will make a decision on the 9th and go from there. Agenda item 14 is pulled. Agenda item 15, Mr. Cully, informational calendars and any action items you have we need to be reminded of. Okay.
We need to recess this meeting to Thursday night, 6 o'clock for a budget work session. Then we have our regular board meeting on April 9th. Mayberry Day is the 20th, Saturday the 20th. That's the only thing on the calendar. And you approved the use of the courtyard for that.
Yes. Did you want to say something about rotation of the, Mr. Cullen? Did you want to say something about the rotation of the ambulance? Information? Chief, you want to say something to us?
Sure.
Just for your knowledge, beginning in April, we will start to rotate some of our EMS fleet to maximize the mileage on the ambulance units. We're looking at those going about 10 years for capital improvement at this point. So you may be getting some calls from citizens that see a Port Royal ambulance in Bowling Green at their house or a Upper Caroline ambulance in Ladysmith. Folks assimilate the ambulance that's outside with the location that it came from. So I just want to give you a heads up, if you do get those kind of calls, we are moving the fleet around on a monthly basis to maximize that. So just because it says Bowling Green doesn't necessarily mean it came from Bowling Green and vice versa. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Closing board comments. Mr. Black.
None.
Mr. Seeley.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers.
No, sir.
Mr. Taylor.
No, sir.
All right, we need a motion to recess to the budget work session Thursday the 28th at 6 p.m. at the EOC.
EOC. I make a motion that we recess this meeting to Thursday, the 28th at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
I second.
EOC.
EOC.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Taylor to recess to our budget work session on Thursday. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion unanimously carries. The board will stand in